Hello, welcome and greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. I am Papa Jefe, and welcome to my channel, where I'm gonna dodge around this guy real quick. So I'm out on the road on my birthday, getting ready to head to Mobile Bay Harley Davidson because I've got to buy a bolt, a single bolt. I don't know how it happened, I don't know when it happened, but the bolt that holds the back end of my seat to my fender is just gone. I got to the gas station this morning and was like, hey, that's that's not supposed to be like that. So I'm going to the dealership to get a replacement for it because I want to make sure, you know, it's a perfect match. And there's a spacer that goes between the seat bracket and the fender, ideally, and of course that's gone too. I'm guessing it vibrated its way out at some point, and it's ostensibly fine as is, but there's always the potential that something could fall off of somewhere, so it's just nice to have it. So yeah, I'm going to the dealership for that. And it occurred to me that I've been making these videos for a while now without really telling you anything about myself. You don't know anything about me. I'm just some dude on the internet talking about motorcycles. Which, to be fair, I mean, that's what motovloggers are, right? But I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to tell you a little bit about myself and my history with motorcycles and why I bought this one in particular. So let's address first things first. Why Papa Jefe? Well, Papa is dad, Jefe is chief, or in my particular instance, chef. I'm a dad, I've got a number of children, and I'm a chef. I'm no longer in the business. I'm taking a couple of years off, and at this point I'm not entirely certain that I'll get back into the business, but I was a chef, not a cook, but a chef for a number of years. So dude, so when I was looking for a name for my motovlog channel, that just seemed like a natural choice. I live in a small town just on the outskirts of the bustling metropolis of Mobile, Alabama. And yes, I did move here on purpose. I moved here from New Orleans several years ago when I became engaged to my lovely now wife, and made the conscious decision to leave the culinary industry in the mecca of that industry that New Orleans is, because frankly, New Orleans is a gilded dumpster fire. As far as my history with motorcycles goes, it doesn't really go back that far. I started riding in my late 20s. I purchased a 1996 Honda Shadow VT 1100 C2. The nicest thing that I can say about that bike is that it looked very nice. That's not a dig at Shadows in general. I think the Honda Shadow is a phenomenal cruiser. But that one in particular, it had its issues. I bought the thing for $750, so you get what you pay for. It had been sitting up for a long time. It had carb problems, some of the mounting hardware for things like the hazard lights and the turn signals, it was broken. It was just a really rough shape. The seat was all torn up, but it was a motorcycle, and I had wanted a motorcycle since I was a teenager. I would eventually learn that it needed a rebuild, which sounded way more complicated than anything that I felt that I was capable of doing. And eventually I traded the thing away for a pistol. And it was a number of years before I owned a motorcycle of my own again. I had friends that had bikes and I rode theirs occasionally, but it's a different matter owning your own bike. You can do things that you're just not going to be comfortable doing on somebody else's bike unless you're just disrespectful of the property of others. The next bike that I had was a 2006 Suzuki Volusia 800, which is, you know, a relatively small engine, but on a large frame for such a small engine. It was kind of a baby road king, if you will. Come on guys, we're getting on the interstate and we're doing 35 miles an hour. What a nightmare. It's Tuesday, where the hell are all these people going? Now, I had that Volusia for about a year, and man, I loved that bike. I rode that bike everywhere. I rode that bike damn near every day. Rain or or shine, dead of winter, didn't matter, I rode my motorcycle. But it too started manifesting some problems. It already had 60,000 miles on it, which for a motorcycle is a respectable amount of mileage. And it had obviously been sitting up in storage for a while after that, because there were wasp nests in all kinds of crazy places, and some of the rubber was beginning to dry rot, and there were just problems, and so eventually it started having trouble starting. And one night when I got to the gas station, it just wouldn't start up again, so I had no choice but to walk home and leave it there. And when I was getting ready to go get it the next morning, it wasn't there anymore. So yeah, that bike was stolen, and it was underinsured, so I didn't get any compensation for it. I was just out the bike and whatever it cost me, which was a series of hard lessons to learn, but important lessons to learn, and at least I learned them on something that cost, well, way less than this bike. So of course, immediately after the last bike went missing, I started shopping for the next one. And I had some ideas about what I wanted. It was kind of time for me to upgrade anyway. That Suzuki had been great for me to get some experience on, but the fact of the matter was, it just didn't have the legs that I needed from it. I'm sure this wasn't the case when it was brand new, but by the time that bike came to me, it'd get up to about 65 or 70 miles an hour, and it was just out of breath. So I knew that I'd wanted something bigger, and what I was really looking at was a Harley Davidson Dyna. I knew at that time that used Dynas could reliably be found in the $3,000 to $5,000 range if you just were patient enough. And then the announcement came out that they were retiring the Dyna and replacing it with an expansion of the Softail line, which in a lot of ways made total sense. It was a smart move on the part of the motor company, but it also meant that enthusiasts and people who fancied themselves collectors were going to start snapping up Dynas, which was going to inflate their market price. And sure enough, within the local market, a few months later, it was all but impossible to find one under 10 grand. At which point, might as well buy from a dealership. At least then you can finance and pay it off in small chunks, and you have a warranty. So I decided to start looking at a dealership. Now in Mobile, there are basically three choices if you want to buy a motorcycle from a dealership. You have Rosie's 1901, which is basically a Triumph dealership. They have a used motorcycle showroom, but they don't really keep that much in stock, and when I was looking, the Harleys that they had were all baggers. I'm totally not a bagger bro, and I just wasn't interested in a Triumph. Then you have Hall's Motorsports. Now I knew of Hall's by reputation. They are a family of dealerships. They have franchises all across the Gulf Coast. And so I looked at their website and what pre-owned inventory they had, and I was pretty impressed with their selection. And after a few weeks, lo and behold, they had exactly the bike that I was like, yeah, if I'm not getting a Harley, this is the one that I want. They had a Honda VTX 1800, which was basically everything that the Dyna was, but better and beefier and stronger and faster.
A few minutes later.
Oh god, I hate this whole exchange. Yeah, they say two wrongs don't make a right. Yeah, you gotta make three lefts instead. at some point on my way up to the dealership, my battery died, which is fine. That's why I've got spares. And it does mean I kind of lost track of the story. I was shopping for a Dyna. I settled on a VTX, went to Halls, and they said they didn't do test rides unless you had purchased the bike. And I said that's bullshit. That's the story. So I wrote off Halls Motorsports at that point. And on my way home, called up Mobile Bay Harley Davidson. I'm like, hey, what's your policy on test rides? They said, you have your motorcycle endorsement? Yeah. Alright, well the test ride policy is, come on down, test ride a bike. And so the next time I had some free time, I went to the dealership. And I had a pretty solid idea of the bike that I wanted. And the member of the sales staff who I talked to was like, honestly man, I mean, I'll totally let you ride one of those if you like, but have you tried one of the Milwaukee 8 Softails? No, I haven't. I mean, I've read plenty about the engine. It seems fantastic. There are a couple of guys that I follow on YouTube who own Milwaukee 8 Softails, and they're all huge fans. But frankly, buying a brand new bike is just out of my price range right now. And they said, that's okay, man. Just take it on a test ride. Yeah, if you really like it, we'll run some numbers. Just try it, dude. Just try it. And I went on a test ride, and I went on a 2019 FXBB. Not this one, but another 2019 FXBB. And I have to say, I was very impressed with how it handled. And then we hit a stretch of open road, and I opened up the throttle, and let me tell you, I was impressed. I had never been on a cruiser that snapped my neck. All that damn torque impressed the hell out of me. I hate this road. I hate this road. It's always full of traffic. That's why I hate this road. And having at this point put about 5,000 miles on the bike, I feel like I'm in a good place where I can give it a proper review, which I'll totally do at a later date. But I can say for sure that while the torque kind of frightened me at first, now it just impresses me.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Well, I burned through another battery while I was yammering on about the things that I want to do to this bike. But hey, that's why I've got a couple of them. Because this old GoPro does not last very long. And I felt like it was only fair if I'm going to expect people to watch these damn videos to have at least some idea of who I am. God, that was a big bug. And so there you have it, a long-winded story about who I am, where I come from, my history with motorcycles, and some general ideas of why I bought this fantastic bike. And while I've really enjoyed being on the road today, it is my birthday and I've got family in town, so I'm headed home to enjoy some cake and a great steak dinner and the company and fellowship of a bunch of people that I love. Thanks for coming along with me. If you enjoyed this video at all, be sure to like and subscribe down below. You folks ride safe out there. Stay shiny side up. Peace.